Hello, I'm Esther Gidu-Ewart. Welcome to Africa 54. Here's what's coming up. Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance delivers his acceptance speech embracing an America-first approach to foreign policy and security. Thursday, July 18, is United Nations declared Nelson Mandela International Day, an annual global celebration that honors the life and legacy of Nelson Mandela. And two young innovators in Mozambique are using recycled resources to improve lives in their community thanks to technology. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. We begin in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the Republican National Convention enters its fourth and final day Thursday. The Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance took center stage at the third night of the convention Wednesday. Donald Trump's running mate embraced an America-first approach to foreign policy and security. VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine Gibson has more from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
In his first speech on the national political stage, Donald Trump's vice presidential nominee, U.S. Senator J.D. Vance, came out swinging.
We're done importing foreign labor. We're going to fight for American citizens and their good jobs and their good wages.
Relatively unknown across the United States, Vance, a Yale Law School graduate who served in the U.S. military for 6 years, has served in elected office for about a year and a half. He was introduced by his wife, Usha Vance.
Chosen to help lead our country through some of its greatest challenges. I am grateful to all of you for the trust you have placed in him.
Wednesday night was a chance not only for Vance to introduce himself to the American public, but to prove his foreign policy credentials.
Together, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer.
Delegates said they were not bothered by Vance's lack of experience.
Really what we're electing here is potential leadership. And he has got proven potential leadership, and he's not one of us old fossils.
Or his past comments criticizing Trump.
I love that he's young and he can be molded. And he is embracing the America First, which I also appreciate. And I think under Trump's tutelage, he can go pretty far.
In a night focused on making America strong again, Trump's son summed up the choice facing voters.
It's a choice between people who are proud of America and people who are ashamed of America. And ultimately, it's a choice between America last and America first.
The convention closes Thursday evening with Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's acceptance speech, his first time speaking in public since he survived an assassination attempt.
Now, for the latest from the Republican National Convention, VOA's Catherine Gibson joins us live from Milwaukee. Catherine, it's the fourth and final day of the Republican National Convention. How was Trump's running mate J.D. Vance received last night?
Well, it was a good, solid first speech on the national political stage. As you know, you've heard, J.D. Vance has only been a U.S. Senator for about a year and a half. He's actually best known for his New York Times best-selling book describing his experiences growing up poor in Ohio. That's how he came to national prominence. So he's going to have a bit of an adaptation as he adapts to a national political campaign. And here on one of the world's biggest stages, he really spoke to the Republican delegates, and they received him very warmly.
So what does his nomination as vice presidential candidate with Donald Trump running bring to the Republican Party?
He brings a youthful energy. He's the first millennial vice presidential candidate. He brings military service. He brings perspective on what it means to have grown up poor in the United States and then work your way up through the military, through college, through law school, and then in public service. So he brings a wide variety of experience, and he'll, for the Trump campaign, as they hope, will bring key Rust Belt states, those working class voters, those independent voters who are tired of the status quo and want that America First policy that he was talking about at his speech last night.
You know, Catherine, the convention has run for some days now, and there are still some questions being raised on the significance of having former President Trump's, foes on stage. They were given an opportunity to speak. What did that feel like, and how was that received by Republicans?
Well, every time President Trump has walked into this arena, it has been a huge amount of excitement from the Republican delegates on the convention floor. We expect an even heartier response this evening when he speaks for the very first time since that assassination attempt last weekend. We saw, of course, the bandage on his ear. He reportedly is going to give a message of unity. He tore up his speech criticizing President Biden, and he's going to talk about how his campaign will bring the American people together.
He seems to have a lot of backing, a lot of people saying good things, but, we still have a couple of months to go before the elections. Catherine, thank you very much for your reporting. VOA's Catherine Gibson. U.S. President Joe Biden told reporters late Wednesday that he was doing well hours after testing positive for COVID-19. The White House made the announcement earlier in the evening, shortly after he abruptly canceled a Las Vegas speech where he planned to appeal to Latino voters. Biden arrived in Dover, Delaware on Wednesday night, where Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Biden will self-isolate and will continue to carry out all of his duties fully during that time. She said the White House will provide regular updates on Biden's status. The news of Biden contracting COVID-19 was first announced by the president of Unidos, the nation's largest Latino nonprofit advocacy organization. President Joe Biden's re-election bid was mired in fresh turmoil after news reports that top Democratic leaders had privately pushed him to end his campaign. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have all expressed deep concerns directly to Biden in recent days. VOA's Paul Ndiho is on Capitol Hill for more on the latest developments. Hello, Paul. Tell us how President Joe Biden, is the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee, obviously, but Democrats are putting pressure on him to step aside. What's at stake here, Paul?
That's correct, Esther. Democrats want to oust President Joe Biden, but let's put it in a perspective. President Joe Biden, in his first term, has done significantly very well. If history was to judge him correctly, he would go down in history as one of the most successful presidents of our time. However, the timing is not looking good. He has had a lot of mishaps, a lot of events happening after the debate. Then a series of other mishaps have happened. Now with the latest COVID news, it doesn't look good for President Joe Biden. So a lot of Democrats who rally with him or who caucus for the Democrats, they want him out. They say that maybe it's time for him to pass on the baton to a younger person, somebody who has the ability and the fitness to run as president.
Paul, others are asking, why are Democrats divided over Joe Biden staying in the race compared to his rival, former President Donald Trump, who appears to have the support of nearly every Republican person within the party?
To quote Chairman Mao, or the former leader of China, Mao Zedong, he once said that politics is war without bloodshed. When you think about it, what's happening in the Democratic Republic it's war without a bloodshed. Democrats are going for their own leader, Joe Biden, as opposed to Republicans who are united behind Trump. What's causing this? For the first time, leaders in the Democratic caucus are coming out publicly to say that they no longer think that President Biden has what it takes to be the next leader of the Democratic Party or the leader of the United States. And that's obviously not going very well for President Biden, who has remained steadfast and said he's not going to step aside until maybe doctors tell him otherwise.
Quickly, Paul, what do the polls say about, Biden versus Trump? Who is doing what in terms of numbers?
That's a very, very big concern. A lot of Democrats are concerned that when you look at the national polls, when you look at their own internal polling, the polls don't look good. The optics don't look good for President Joe Biden. So they are suggesting that because the polls nationally don't look good for his re-election bid, maybe it's about time he passed on the torch to a younger person. And but ultimately, this will come down to President Joe Biden making that decision. Until then, he's still the presumptive Democratic nominee for the United States presidency.
Well put, Paul. Thank you very much for your excellent reporting. Paul Ndiho, live for us from Capitol Hill. Thursday is United Nations declared Nelson Mandela International Day. It is an annual global celebration that takes place on 18th of July to honor the life and legacy of Nelson Mandela. Tuso Kumalo has more from Robben Island, Cape Town.
As the world celebrates Nelson Mandela International Day, we move to Robben Island, a place where the world icon was imprisoned and had hard labor there.
Madiba was a person who listened even to those people with whom he disagreed. And he would always do his best to try and project humanity to the other person with the hope that that person would reciprocate that.
This is the place where our icon Nelson Mandela was for a long time.
It was tough because we found ourselves in an environment where the prison guards were all white and the prisoners were all black. And so the prison warders didn't treat us in a very humane manner. So we had to assert ourselves and assert our dignity, as human beings.
Here they worked like slaves. Here they were treated like slaves, Nelson Mandela and company. But now, free South Africa, thanks to Nelson Mandela, the icon not only of South Africa, but the icon of the world.
Today we find that we in South Africa are very diverse. We are very accepting of everybody into this port of humanity. We come from far, and here we are as a diverse country, black, white, Indian, all of them in this one pot of Ubuntu.
Zenzenina, 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 zenzenina. So those are some of the songs that we sang here.
This is Tuso Kumalo reporting from Robben Island here in South Africa.
Every year on Mandela Day in South Africa, individuals and organizations are encouraged to volunteer at least 67 minutes of their time to make a difference in somebody else's life. This year again, schools, corporates and NGOs come together to honor Nelson Mandela's legacy in fighting for social justice. Asma Botmi-Clark tells us more on how some of the people there marked the day in Durban.
The children of Aquina Cares Kindergarten do not have much, but with the little they have, they wanted to make a difference this Mandela Day. Aprons on and much excitement in the kitchen, they were all set to bake delicious muffins for the two elderly ladies chosen by the school as beneficiaries of their donation. Mandela Day is not only a day to celebrate the birth of former President Nelson Mandela, but also a day when everyone is called to take action to help change the world for the better by giving 67 minutes of their time. And many want to take part, even the little ones.
They have to know about the history, as the Mandela did tell us. The education is a key for our success. So that's why we decided to just honor him, as he did say to us, the education is a key of our success, is the key for opening all the doors where you're going. So we notice it's important for us to just participate with the Mandela Day.
The children of Aquina Cares surely made a difference today. They gave joy, love and hope to the elderly. Change of scenery, change of ambiance. In this urban event space, Mandela Day is festive and very productive. These corporate teams have to pack as many meals as possible in 67 minutes, and it's a competition. The NGO Rise Against Hunger offers a platform for volunteers and corporates on this special day to comply with their 67 minutes of giving back. Individuals and organizations usually work together on Mandela Day to identify charities and reach a large number of people in need.
It's just going to be an awesome vibe with team building experience where they're packing up nutritional meals that go back into our early childhood development centers in deep rural areas. We believe that feeding the most vulnerable, which are children between the ages of 1 to 6, is really where our core focus is. So yeah, we appreciate every volunteer coming out today to assist us in our mission.
2 years ago, the World Bank reported South Africa as being the most unequal country in the world. On Mandela Day, many South Africans worked together to narrow that deep gulf of inequality. Asma Botny-Clark for VON News, Durban.
Haitian Prime Minister Gary Conille has ordered gangs to surrender their weapons and acknowledged how dangerous life in Haiti's capital and beyond has become. He also pledged in a televised speech late Wednesday to crack down on the rampant violence. Conille spoke a day after a second group of 200 Kenyan police officers arrived in Haiti to help quell the gang violence as part of a UN-backed mission led by the East African country. Gangs control 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and they have been blamed for killing or injuring more than 1,500 people in the first 3 months of the year alone. Let us know what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, 2 young innovators in Mozambique use recycled resources to improve lives in their community. We'll be right back.
The lack of access to menstrual hygiene products due to high cost has had a major impact on millions of women and girls. But despite these challenges, things are changing, making it possible for girls to go to school and women remain employed. On the next episode of Our Voices, we'll take a closer look at initiatives that have been launched in sub-Saharan African countries to promote greater access to sanitary pads and their implications for the future of women and girls. Join the conversation each week right here on Our Voices.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain, and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
In other news, human rights groups condemned a decision by the Zimbabwean High Court on Wednesday to uphold a lower court ruling denying bail to an opposition party leader and 78 activists who were arrested last month. Jameson Timber, who took over as party leader at Citizens Coalition for Change after Nelson Chamisa quit in January, was arrested along with other party youth in Harare for holding what authorities called unauthorized gathering. Kenya's government on Thursday ratcheted up its appeal for weeks of protests to stop, and police tried to ban demonstrations in the heart of the capital, Nairobi, but a court suspended the ban while a case challenging it was heard. Some activists called for people to gather on Thursday with camping gear to occupy Uhuru Park adjacent to the city center amid a heavy police presence across Nairobi. And Turkey and Niger agreed to boost cooperation on energy, mining, intelligence, and defense after the West African nation asked Western military personnel to leave and terminated the mining contracts of many Western countries. Turkey's foreign minister, defense minister, and agriculture minister visited Niger's capital Niamey on Wednesday. Technology is seen around the world as the best alternative for discovering new solutions and awakening a universe of opportunities. In Mozambique, two young innovators are using recycled resources to improve lives in their community. Amarilis Gule has the report from Maputo.
Under the shade of a mango tree, 17-year-old Nélio Mazevila has built a makeshift laboratory.
Most of the material that I use is scrap, taken from old televisions and amplifiers. But if I need the material urgently, I go to a center that sells and buys scrap metal. Other than that, my friends and neighbors have given me old appliances.
Mazevila says it was through a light bulb and a magnetic induction coil that he realized he could illuminate and provide clean, sustainable energy, not just for his own laboratory and house, but possibly for an entire city block.
The biggest problem in the world today is energy, so we have to create these small sources of renewable energy to avoid using fuels, which is why I make this type of clean and sustainable energy. The device is an inventor that invents direct current from a battery to alternating current for residential use. With the device I have here, I can power 3 to 4 houses, but if we increase the voltage of the photovoltaic panels, we have to increase the number of batteries and increase the transformer. Then the device can power 3, 4, or 5 blocks.
What he does are things that he researches himself, studies on his own, and presents in practice. So I hope that in a few years, he will be a recognized scientist here in Mozambique.
A few blocks from Nélio's lab, another 17-year-old young man, Clayton Mishak, began his journey of invention by building toy cars and robots, although his real passion was drones. So, using recycled materials such as iron and cardboard, Clayton created his first drone, but he wanted to be used for greater causes. So, using carbon fiber and FPV, first-person view system, a way of visualizing a particular action through a view of a camera, giving the feeling to be there, he developed a more robust and faster drone that could be useful for mapping flood-prone areas to assist in rescue missions.
Os drones, eu vi que já existem, não é? Em Moçambique também tinha os drones.
I saw that drones already existed in Mozambique, the kind that I used to film events. My goal was to use drones in places that are difficult for humans to reach during floods. That's when I thought about making the drones indestructible, flexible and fast. That's when I started researching first. View FPV systems, carbon fiber, more efficient brushless motors, and so I started developing the drone.
Clayton intends to continue researching to take his invention to a higher level.
Technologies
are being developed every day, and what also motivated me was not to leave Mozambique behind in terms of knowledge. So, as I have knowledge of these types of drones and the research that is being done in other countries, I ended up creating something that could show that in Mozambique there is also knowledge. Apparently, they are paying attention, and that's very good because it will help the country take another step forward.
I can see that every day in every step of the way. Things are working. My son will be very happy when one day people of good faith take up this course, because there is nothing better than having young people create, innovate, and see that there are results. Only in this way can they create more and they can grow.
Despite having no formal education and never having met in person, both young innovators continue to inspire each other through social media. While Nel Mazivila is hopeful that his invention will address the energy crisis in remote areas, Clayton Mishak believes that his invention has the potential to guide developers pick the right terrains for construction projects. They now hope that public and private companies and individuals will come forward to offer financial support and enable them to encourage their expertise and elevate their promising ventures. Amarilis Gule, VOA News, Maputo, Mozambique.
Indeed, two very young and inspiring, very young men in Mozambique. Thank you very much, Amarilis, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.